Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Communitech Data Hub session for the launch of the OpenHDMaps platform. At Communitech, we're working hard to bring you business as virtual as much as possible, while also supporting our members the best we can. A few housekeeping notes. First, a reminder that this session is being recorded so it can be shared at a later date for companies to view or refer back to. The recording will be posted on Communitech's YouTube channel. The slides will also be sent out to everyone attending today after the event. I'll ask that you please keep your microphone on mute during today's session. Please use the chat functionality for any questions you may have throughout the session. We ask that you post your questions to the entire group instead of messaging any one of us individually so that our event support team as well as the speakers can see your questions. If you're interested in following up after the session to discuss this topic further, please connect with your Communitech advisor or CSM, or if you are not a Communitech member, feel free to connect with any of us on LinkedIn. If you need any technical assistance during today's session, please comment in the chat and our event support, Mackenzie, can help you, or email events@communitech.ca. With no further ado, I'd like to welcome our speakers today, Mauro Rossi and Emily Jackson-Bauer. Mauro is the Director of Advanced Technology Programs at Communitech. He oversees several programs that help companies solve problems and grow using advanced technology in 5G mobility, cloud computing, and autonomous vehicles. Emily is the Vice President of Communications at Ecopia Tech and oversees Ecopia's event participation and HDMap creation in partnership with the Waterloo RTDS. Now I'll hand it off to Mauro for the first part of the presentation.
Thank you, Vlad. Welcome, everyone. As Vlad mentioned, I'm working at Communitech, but I'm also the different hat that I'm wearing today is the managing director of the OpenHDMaps program here. So I'd like to kind of give you some oversights today in terms of what this platform is capable of, a little bit of background in terms of our journey to get to this point here, and a little bit of a vision of where we'd like to take this platform on a go-forward basis. So again, thank you for taking the time to come out today and experience our platform launch. Before I get started with the actual details, the actual platform itself, or in the nitty-gritty details of the kinds of data that are available, I just want to give some context first in terms of how we got here and who's helped us to get here. So as a starting point, let's just talk about maybe some of our key partners overall in terms of who they are and what they are able to how they've contributed to our actual delivery here. So first of all, the province of Ontario, through a commitment of $85 million to the Autonomous Vehicle Innovation Network, and AVIN, you'll hear me refer to AVIN quite often throughout this, they're actually supporting small and medium-sized enterprises to help develop, test, and commercialize technologies in the transportation and automotive space. Working with another partner, Ontario Centers of Excellence, that has a number of programs through the AVIN program. We are participating in their Regional Technology Development Site program. And what this program is, it's a number of locations and regions within the province of Ontario. There are 6 of them overall that are focusing on different aspects of automotive technology in the autonomous vehicle space. So we have in the Waterloo region, Communitech, University of Waterloo, and WDC have partnered to form the Waterloo RTDS. And what our focus here in our region is mapping. Other regions are focusing on different aspects of testing, cross-border shopping, cross-border transportation, and artificial intelligence. And we also there's also a demonstration zone as part of the AVIN program where companies can actually go and demonstrate their technology on actual autonomous vehicles. So to talk to what we're working at specifically here in the high definition space, we've actually partnered with Ecopia Technologies. As Vlad had mentioned, Emily is here with us today. And Ecopia Technologies is using AI to digitize the world. And they're really gathering insights from geospatial information and making it actionable, resulting in actual activities that can be taking place based on those decisions that are coming from that data. And as part of that, we're actually resulting in the OpenHDMap platform launch today. So that's where we're at. And now that we know who is participating here, let's talk a little bit about some background in what's needed for self-driving vehicles. So really, everyone has this vision of what autonomous vehicle operation looks like within the space. Is you're going to have these vehicles driving on public roadways with no steering wheel in the car, and people are just going to be sitting back and relaxing. Well, in order to support that, we need a number of really key pillars. The first one being infrastructure. So things like mobility connections. There's going to be lots of data that's going to be having to travel between vehicles and other vehicles and people, vehicles and traffic management systems. So that infrastructure that's requiring things like 5G technology, which has great benefits of low bandwidth, high or low latency. It's pretty amazing to have all those capabilities now available. And that's really one key pillar for self-driving vehicles. The second is the actual autonomous vehicle itself. So these are going to be really smart vehicles that have great processing power on board. They're going to have a number of sensors such as radar, cameras, and a lot of kind of drive-by-wire technology within the vehicles themselves. So these vehicles are needed in order to communicate with the infrastructure and talk to other vehicles and such. And really the third aspect, which I think is really our focus today, is these high definition maps. So the mapping technology that you might be quite familiar with on your smartphones or that's out there today, they are great for wayfinding. They're great for people to use. But the accuracy perspective on those ones from an actual precise location of where you're at is typically within a meter or so, maybe as much as 4-meter accuracy. Obviously, if you have a self-driving vehicle driving down the lane of the 401 or any expressway, you need to make sure that you're within that lane. 4-meter accuracy is insufficient. So these high definition maps, we're talking centimeter level accuracy. So in the order of say 10, 15, 20 centimeter accuracy, just to be able to maintain and operate safely in that space. So these high definition maps that we're looking to develop here and work and create this ecosystem of companies working in this space really are focusing on that high definition aspect of the map, as opposed to just more generic. So let's talk about the data challenges that are faced in this high definition mapping space. And I'm going to do this by kind of running through a really overly simplified example just to illustrate some of the challenges. So here we have an area that we're looking to generate a map for. And first of all, we have company A that comes around and they're actually going to map a certain portion of that geographical area. And they're actually going to extract information like stop signs, lane markings, and sidewalks. Now, company B comes along and they're going to map a slightly different area, and they're looking at slightly different feature extractions. Things like lane markings and sidewalks are similar, but they're looking at traffic lights instead of stop signs. Well, obviously, one of the first things that comes up is that we have some duplicated effort here. There's an area in that middle section where both companies have spent time and resources to actually collect that information. And it's very similar data that's coming out of that. So that there is some duplicated effort that could be considered a waste. Secondly, because there's lots of costs, sometimes there's costs associated with this, it's proprietary. So company A is not really inclined in many cases to go with company B and share that information. It can be sometimes a challenge. We'll see later on in the presentation that there's a trend now to go to more open, and there have some really concrete examples of that. So that proprietary aspect is starting to loosen up a little bit, but as of today, it still is a bit a challenge. And finally, the third aspect here, there's missing data. Obviously, what company A has in terms of stop signs, company B doesn't have. So what we're looking at here in this program is, especially for startups, small, medium-sized enterprise organizations, looking to kind of lower that barrier and help those companies create an ecosystem, a place where they can be very innovative and have that lower cost, lower barrier to innovate in this space. So that's where the objectives of this. Our OpenHDMaps, we're working on a cooperative model. So each of the participants will actually be using data off of the platform, but also encouraged to contribute data to the platform. And this data is not only in some cases just the raw data, but the actual data itself that they've kind of pre-processed. They've applied their intellectual property to, they provide their secret sauce to, and provided that output on the platform. And this provides information, visibility to other participants that can see what is possible. And that information can be very useful in increasing the productivity of their product and service. So they can come up with new capabilities, new features, new ideas that they may not even know were possible based on collaborations with other participants in this environment, in this platform. And the key thing is that this is a non-proprietary platform. So what are some of the deliverables that we're talking about here for this particular platform, this project? So really, it's a platform itself. So it's access to this for collecting, analyzing, and sharing this data. But not only that, it's also a high definition map of the Waterloo region. And this is like the seed. And this is where our great partners at Communitech have contributed significantly. We're really, really happy that they were participating in this project, and we've made some great strides here in the Waterloo region. And that's where Emily will provide a lot more details in terms of the specific kind of features and capabilities of this platform. But not only are we, this is, as I mentioned, this is like a seed for the platform. This is the high definition map of the Waterloo region as the starting point. What we've also done is we've created a process that enables the expansion outside the Waterloo region. So how do we create these standards, we create these platforms. So now if another region wants to add data, it's a very simple standardized way to collect that data and upload it onto the platform and make it available to others to use. So in terms of some of our general governance principles, I just want to go over these to really emphasize the idea of an ecosystem building kind of environment. Really, we're providing all our stakeholders this opportunity to work in this space and connect and collaborate. So really, the more collaboration there is on this, the richer the experience is. And this is one of the general principles of like an open platform overall. We understand though that there are certain limitations. So we strive to keep the data and platform and tools open. There are capabilities within the platform to maintain the data in a private portion of the platform, but really that defeats the purpose and limits the utility of the platform to the participant who's keeping that information in a private section. So really, we're really fostering the innovation and how we're allowing these companies to develop and commercialize their technology by sharing this information. And the obvious thing is keeping it relevant. We want to make sure that the data that's on the platform delivers ongoing value to all the participants. So one of the things that we're even looking for as part of this session, and will probably be in the follow-up email that comes out to you, is in a survey, what is it that you'd like to see? So what is relevant to you, and how would this platform be of more value to you? So what kind of capabilities would you like? What kind of data would you like? By getting that really helps on that fourth principle there of ensuring relevance is maintained. And just to reemphasize what we talked about a little earlier, that these map data sets are available to Ontario-based companies with less than 500 employees at no cost for non-commercial use. So even for participants that are putting the data, to encourage them to do so, to foster this collaboration, but to lower the risk from a commercialization perspective. So when it comes to commercialization activities, that's where the collaborators will negotiate commercial terms of use. But at least this gives a very low barrier to see what's possible, to develop that technology, to prototype it, and to work with other collaborators on the platform to evaluate how to get value in a commercial sense. One of the things that really wanted to kind of highlight here is that there is a recent shift to open data. So this kind of validates our platform and our model. So large organizations like Ford, Audi, and Waymo have released their self-driving open data sets or portions of them to different communities or to the broader community. Each of them has a slightly different data set. So some of the data is just pure raw data. Some of it is like imagery. Some of it is video, some of it is annotated to a certain degree, so there has been some kind of processing done on it. And even recently, Mapillary, which is maybe a well-known crowdsourced database kind of street-level imagery company, was recently even acquired by Facebook back in the June timeframe. So there is a trend to going towards this more open collaborative environment. What differentiates us a little bit here on the OpenHDMap platform is that what we're doing is not only just the raw data sets, but really the value add portion of these collaborators will be also populated on the platform for other collaborators to see, to really encourage the partnerships between companies to see what's possible and how to really speed up that and accelerate that innovation and getting their products to market as quickly as possible for what the market is really demanding. What I'd like to do is highlight, while the platform is being launched today, really we've been working with a number of kind of SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, since the start of the program, and they've covered a number of various areas in sectors. So for example, we have companies like ClearPath and Gatik that are working in what you would normally expect as an autonomous vehicle. So Gatik is working on vehicles on public roadways. ClearPath is more in kind of warehouse and industrial settings, but they're actually what you would envision in terms of an actual vehicle driving through a space. But we're also working with companies that are looking at like more the sidewalks or other vulnerable road users like cyclists. So companies like SafeGround and GeoMate are working in that space. So looking to how do they assist people, for example, with accessibility challenges. So, and what is the easiest path to travel from location A to B using sidewalks if you have some mobility challenges. So we're working in that space as well, also from the high definition mapping perspective. But we're also infrastructure. Companies like i4Infrastructure, Iris, and Scaffold, they're working with how to keep a status on the roads in terms of kind of deficiencies, damage to the road, so that they're using automated technology to try and establish that and try to manage some of the challenges that municipalities and cities are seeing in terms of asset management for all of their infrastructure. So they're focusing in areas like that. So kind of cities are also another area that people would have applications. Transoft Solutions is working in areas that are similar to kind of safety analysis based on traffic and transportation. And maps obviously would fit into that, and they've used that to augment their capabilities to do their safety analysis in a much more effective and efficient with better results overall. But then we have also companies that are working in kind of the kind of curbside management like Zone. So ideas of in a map, how you could have a virtual curb side. So from 9 till 11, it's a drop-off zone or a delivery zone. From noon till 1, it's for customers, and in the afternoon, it's maybe for city workers to do additional stuff. So having that virtual curbside management done and using these HD maps to identify that is another kind of use case. We have a number of companies working on various sensors like Aposys, GGI, Jakarta is a cartography company, so building various sensors and various technologies to do traffic monitoring, traffic management. And we also have some companies that are might be a little bit further out of mind in terms of like companies like Map Your Property and Spotsy, where we're looking at real estate and how high definition maps can be utilized to support some of the challenges that the real estate market is seeing. So, and even other companies like Eat, Sleep, Ride, which is kind of like a social platform for motorcyclists in terms of identifying the best path to travel from point A to point B from a motorcyclist perspective. So there's lots of companies that are working in a lot of different areas, even sustainability, companies like Ecosystem Informatics, where they're looking at the impact of traffic and how that high definition map can be used in that space. And finally, but definitely not least, not just looking at transportation on roadways, but also in the air, so drones. And that's Air Matrix is looking at creating high definition, kind of millimeter accurate maps in the air space above the cities for drones to do applications like last mile delivery and so forth. So even they're looking at HD maps and how they can be utilized. So sectors that can benefit from this. There are a number of sectors. We kind of talked to a few of them on the previous slide, but so one of the other ones here that I just kind of trying to highlight is we haven't had engagement at this point, but we're thinking that things like advertising and using high definition maps for like the augmented reality type applications. There's probably some use cases in there, and the idea is to the audience here, these are just a few of the kind of sectors that we believe could be beneficial, but if you see applications on your end or other sectors, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and look for participation in the platform here. We would be really glad to hear from you. So now I'm just going to jump a little bit to talk about some of the key capabilities and features of the platform itself. Right after this highlight, I'm going to hand it over to Emily to actually go through and kind of talk a little bit about the individual and demonstrate it on the platform itself. But the available content that we have right now is the entire Waterloo region. So it's like the 3 major cities of Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge, and all the surrounding townships. It has data in there with respect to aerial imagery, but then even a lot of the features, things that Acopia has contributed to the platform in terms of kind of like surfaces of roads, parking, and so forth. But even road center lines, traffic line markings. So that's really the highly accurate location of these markings that would be used by an autonomous vehicle to actually navigate in that space. The platform also supports things like content management. So you can create your own content in terms of uploading your vector data, or providing links to data sources where if the data is very large in content size, then providing links to that data source allows for terms of usage and so forth. Allows you to control the sharing of the content. You can share it, you can have it privately, or you can share it within your organization, or you can broadly put it out to the entire community. It allows you to download data that has been contributed by others, allows you to search for data as well. One other key feature that really wanted to highlight here as well is the capability of the platform to visualize. So the intent is that users will be able to use this data and build things on their own platform, but to be able to visualize the data sets as well. All the vector data we're looking at is right now, these are and Emily will go through them in terms of what's currently visualized, but a lot of the vector elements uploaded would be likely included in the platform in terms of visualization, where you can customize the styles, measure distances, select features, and view the attributes of those features. You can also do various types of analytics, counting and address geocoding and such. So given that, I'm going to then maybe call on Emily to join us here and walk us through the actual platform demonstration right now.
Well, thanks, Mauro. All right, I'm just going to share my screen. Can you see it okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So Mauro has actually stolen a lot of my thunder with my intros. So a bit of this is going to be a little bit repetitive, so please bear with me. So I'm Emily. I'm our VP of Communications at Acopia, and currently managing our participation with the Waterloo RTDS. I'm joined here today with my colleague, Andrew. Andrew fields a lot of our more technical questions. He's one of our sales engineers, so definitely wears more of the technical hat. So he will kind of jump in and help me out with some of the questions that I expect we'll receive towards the end of the presentation. So who are we? Acopia, we're an artificial intelligence company. We specialize in extracting insights from geospatial big data, creating high definition digital maps around the world. We were founded out of the University of Waterloo and commercialized in 2013. So we have really strong ties. We're currently headquartered in Toronto, but strong ties to the Waterloo region. So when this project came up, we were really excited to kind of come back to Waterloo and participate with a lot of the organizations that helped us in our very beginnings. So since 2013, we've worked with hundreds of customers around the world, creating HD mapping data in over 100 countries, providing solutions in industries such as telecommunications, logistics, all levels of government, supporting smart cities applications, and much more. Our biggest value prop is that we can create accurate, scalable, and up-to-date vector information very quickly across any terrain, anywhere on Earth. Our mission ultimately is to digitize the world using artificial intelligence. So for this project, we've partnered, as you know, with the Waterloo RTDS to create the HD mapping base layers from aerial and street view imagery, as well as develop the centralized data sharing platform. So today I'll be demoing that platform. And I'm going to start by saying, like many of the companies participating in AVEN, we too are still in the development phase of both the base layer creation as well as the platform creation. So today what you see is our beta version. The data within the platform is data based solely on the aerial imagery extraction. We've not yet completed the extraction off of street view imagery, so you won't see it in the platform today. There's a lot of functionality currently built within the platform, but there's so much more to come. So as Mauro said, we're going to look to survey the audience, survey the participant companies, get feedback around what type of features are interesting for you, what type of analytic tools do you require, what APIs would be useful, and we're going to do our best to incorporate as much of that into our production roadmap as possible. So without any further ado, this data platform is built with two functions in mind: the ability to visualize and access the base layers created by Ecopia, as Mauro said, as well as create kind of what we're calling a marketplace for companies to contribute data, share within their team, but also share outside of their team environment. So I'll go into the platform. So here it is. I'm gonna log in. You're going to land at first in the content page. So this is our marketplace. I'm actually going to start first with the base layers in the map viewer. So the map browser here, this is where you'll visualize the data created by Ecopia, as well as do some basic analytics functions here. So as Mauro said, we've created all of the data for the full Waterloo region, so all 3 cities and surrounding areas. And the features that have been extracted are all categorized down here. So in the layer panel, you'll see the various layers. You can customize how these layers look. You can change their colors, figure out what you like to look at. It's a very colorful situation when you get in here at first. And then if you're adding, I'll talk about this in a little bit, but if you are uploading any vector information, you will see it here and you'll be able to visualize that under your private content. So you can actually layer data on top of this viewer here and take a look and do some basic analytics. So up here at the top, you'll see there's some basic functionality. You'll be able to show coordinates of a specific feature. So down on the left-hand side, you'll see the coordinate of the building. You'll be able to do a feature count. This one's pretty cool. So if you're looking in an area, you want to know how many buildings or other features are within that area. You draw this bounding box, hit enter, and then you'll see down here at the bottom how many buildings are located within that area, crosswalks, curbs, driveways, various other features. So you'll be able to do some basic analytics within the platform itself. Currently, this is not, it's not done via external API, it's just done within the platform. It's something that we're working to build out. You can do a location search from lat long. You can also do an address search. So you can put in an address and it will navigate you to that address point. You can select features and understand kind of their cat title, and then also measure distance. So if you're looking at a distance at any point in a road or distance to a road center line, you'll see the total distance here at the bottom. So these are some of the basic functions that are built out within the map viewer right now. As I said, there's plenty more on the roadmap. This is just what we have currently built. So I'll leave that there. Back over to the content page. So this is where you will go if you want to download these base layers. So hit download, it'll pop you up with a screen here, and then you'll just copy them and then download outside in the browser. All the new information as it gets added, so the various features from Street View, as well as imagery, that'll all be available within there. And then additionally, we have built out a geocoding API function that you can use outside of the platform to call specific lat longs of various addresses. So as we continue to build out APIs, those will be available within the kind of content section in the marketplace. And then to share data. So you'll go into your private area, you'll create content, and then you have a few options. So a local shapefile, so that's vector information that can be visualized within the platform. You'll drag and upload. You'll add your AOI file, so area of interest, or boundary file, a preview image. What do you want to be on your card? So for us, we've selected this. It can be your company logo. It can be kind of whatever image you'd like to see there, a description of the data, and then any specific terms of use. And then from there, it'll create a contact card, and then you can go and you can share it. So I'm just going back to show you the What Are the Region map. So this is an open share license, so everybody has access to it. You'll be able to do that same thing for the data that you contribute. So you can share it openly. You can give only authorized access. So people specifically within your team, your organization, or within one organization that you work closely with, you can choose how you share the data. Our goal, of course, is to have as much data shared as possible, as openly as possible, to create kind of a cool marketplace and see how we can collaborate with one another. But you do have that ability to customize those features. So that's really it for now. I guess I'll go back to the map browser. I know everyone's going to ask me about accuracy, so I'll just get out in front of it. So the horizontal accuracy of the layers is based on the accuracy of the source imagery. So in this instance, we use 10-centimeter aerial imagery to extract the features. So all of them are extracted off of 10-centimeter aerial. So the absolute horizontal accuracy is estimated to be about 30 centimeters. And the relative accuracy is estimated to be about 25 to 30 centimeters at a 95% confidence level. So that means human level accuracy. That's what's widely accepted as a human level of accuracy. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over. I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions, but I will stop sharing now.
Mo, you're on mute right now.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'd like to thank Emily there for that really cool demo, and I'm sure there'll be lots of questions related to that afterwards. But there's this whole idea of having it in an open kind of sharing kind of platform as much as possible is really key to the success of kind of making this ecosystem super vibrant and of a lot of value to all the participants. So before we kind of go on to the questions, I would just like to acknowledge and thank our partners here identified in terms of the support they provided in getting us to where we're at today. And then I think we're just ready for opening up the floor for questions. While we're waiting for maybe some of the questions to come in, or I guess I can just monitor the chat directly myself here to see if there's anything.
Yeah, we're just waiting for questions to come from those who have it. It's Ross McKenzie here from the University of Waterloo. I want to come back to a couple of things. We'll go first to Emily and the functionality that's on the map now, which you referred to as a base layer that's using overhead aerial extractions only, nothing from the street view extractions yet. When will those be added, and when they are, will that just enhance what's there? Will that add extra layers? What difference will that make once the street view extractions are added?
Yeah, absolutely. So it will be added probably, I'm hoping within the next month or so. We're just figuring out kind of the localization component between the two imagery sources to make sure that the accuracy is what it needs to be. But it won't be enhancing the features that are there. It will be adding new features. So those features will be things like road furniture, street signs, traffic lights, anything that's seen through the vehicle driving. So right now it's all of the features, the road networks, various things, but it'll be all of the signage for the most part that's incorporated into the map. Hoping that happens before, we're slated to have it done before the new year.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yep.
And Mauro, you had a slide talking about anticipated sectors that can benefit, of which there were 10, anchored, of course, by AV navigation and map providers. But amongst the other ones on that slide, and maybe if you want to just go back to it so everybody can reference it, be interested to know how those rank in terms of sectors to pursue or opportunities you expect SMEs to be more interested in. If you could just, beyond the first two, rank the other 8 for us.
Sure. So I guess in my sense, the smart cities sector is probably, because it kind of incorporates things like public transportation, it covers things like infrastructure. So I think smart cities would be the probably the next highest, and we've seen a lot of kind of interest in that space, even in some preliminary discussions with some of the municipalities, and our kind of outreach to through other organizations to other municipalities. So there's been a lot of interest in that, looking for ways to do things smarter, more efficiently, through the infrastructure and a lot of the planning that would be needed. And the HD maps really provide that extra level of detail. One other aspect that we're looking, again, for the supporting collaboration, looking at organizations like municipalities that have open data already available, incorporating that onto the platform and posing those challenges to the SMEs, to the startups, to say, here's the data we have, here's the challenge we have. What can this group of innovators come up with in terms of products and solutions that might address those? So I think smart cities is probably one of the big ones out there.
Okay.
I think some of the other areas are kind of subsets to that, in terms of like transportation, fleet management, infrastructure. Those are all challenges that a lot of municipalities see.
Very good, thank you. Thanks to everybody on the session here. The questions have come in. We'll start with Leslie Mills asking, how do I create custom feature layers in the menu?
Yeah,
Emily, do you want to start on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, to visualize custom features, you would be adding in content through the My Content section. So it would be vectorized features that you've created outside of the platform. If there is a need or a want to be able to create features from within the platform and how it's visualized, it's something that potentially we can put onto the roadmap. We expected that manually drawing them from within the platform would likely not be what people would want to do. They would want to take the data that they've created outside and add it in and visualize. But if there is a need for that, we can certainly discuss in more detail and incorporate it into the platform.
Thank you. From Chris Ritchie, who do you anticipate will be the heavy users and what is the primary target market? I think you have addressed the primary target market with the question I asked earlier, Mauro, but just want to comment on anticipated heavy users for Chris.
Yeah, so heavy users, really the program is targeting the kind of small and medium-sized enterprises. That's where we're really focusing, and I think we're making the terms of use very favorable towards them. So I would expect a lot of those organizations would be benefiting from this in those various sectors that we talked about earlier. But that's kind of like the persona of the user that would be most likely. But in some cases, there might be opportunities to do for other organizations. It's just there might be additional costs associated with that because really the primary mandate of this program is to help the small and medium-sized organizations. So it wouldn't exclude large organizations from participating. It's just there would be different terms of use and potential costs associated with it.
Thank you. From Residini, is the platform for aerial and satellite data, or may it also extract HD maps from mobile mapping data? Open that to either of you to chime in.
I can maybe kind of start off that, and then Emily, you can chime in if you have other thoughts to it. The intent is that I guess what Ecopia has added to date is, from their contribution, is the aerial imagery and the street view imagery and the extractions they've done. If there were startup organizations that had technology that was from devices like mobile devices, collecting data there and crowdsourcing things like that, and contributing that as a participant and developing and using the platform to test their technology there, that would be, that's actually the sweet spot of what we're looking for. So companies that might want to use that for mobile data, extract information they want and populate that on the platform, that is the kind of use case that we're very interested in kind of engaging with.
Anything to add, Emily?
No. Nailed it.
All right. From Keith Nuttall, how can this data be customized so that automotive manufacturers can incorporate it safely within their autonomous vehicle systems?
I can start on that one as well if you want, Emily. I guess in a lot of this is kind of like a source of data. A lot of customization would be done by end users at the end of the day. So the data is more generic, it's more content driven, so it's rich in information. When you're looking at a specific application, in some of the discussions we've had with some of the kind of large scale automotive manufacturers, they have to do a lot of customizations to optimize the data ingestion for their algorithms that are running in real time. So that is what they would be bringing in terms of, they would use the maps in terms of the high definition data, the data sources, the different types of information available, and then they would be able to kind of extract the key portions of it that they require, and doing that in a very effective, efficient manner that could be ingested by their algorithms.
Got a little something to add to that, but Emily, before I do, did you want to?
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think the intention of, especially the data that we created, was to be kind of generalized as the base layers. So it is kind of the common denominator across many of the different applications and uses that can be leveraged. As you can see, it can be downloaded out of the platform and ingested into whatever your internal environment is and leveraged for the purpose of R&D. And certainly there is a ton of customization that Ecopia can do as an organization for individual end users, should that be a requirement. This data was created more specifically to be as general as possible to serve as many end users as possible. Ross, I'll turn it over to you.
Very good. Thanks, Emily. I just wanted to cite an example, and we'll use General Motors and their Super Cruise technology, which is on vehicles now, currently only at a macro level with Interstate Highway and 400 series Trans-Canada Highway in Canada capabilities. So Super Cruise utilizes maps that are provided to them by Usher Automotive, and Usher, which is now part of the dynamic mapping platform consortium out of Japan, they do not use signposts, and they actually take all the signposts off their map. So if you think of the base layer of the map that OpenHDMaps is launching today, they would only extract the data that was relevant for how they develop a map. And they wouldn't have signposts with speed signs because they identify speed as a stretch of road with a colored band. So the automotive manufacturers and their map suppliers will utilize only the layers that they need. And the layers that are needed by a company like Usher versus TomTom versus Here Maps are going to vary somewhat based on how they create the maps for their various internal systems. And that is just one example of how they'll take only the layers that they need to support the map that they consistently create. Walid Ibrahim asks, is there API access and would it follow OGC standards?
I'm gonna let Andrew take that one.
Yeah, hey guys, Andrew here. So currently the only externalized API that we have is our geocoding API. And once we officially launch this, you will receive API documentation about how to access it and what format the return is. Basically, it's really simple. We'll be providing an API key, and all you have to submit is a freeform address, and you'll be returned all of the address information in JSON format.
Thanks, Andrew. And in a related question, Leslie Mills asks, can the API differentiate between GPS coordinate systems?
Yeah, so I can take this one as well. So currently we return the coordinates of addresses in decimal degrees within the WGS 84 coordinate system. But if there is a requirement to return it differently, let's say in UTM coordinates, that is a possibility. We just have to kind of understand what the demand is there for that.
Okay, thank you. Follow on from Residini as well. The platform, does it work only with raster or can you extract features from LiDAR as well? I'm guessing, Andrew, that might go back to you.
Yeah, so currently what our workflows, our semi-automated workflows extract specifically off of raster imagery. So all of the vector features that you see there were extracted off of 10-centimeter aerial imagery. But like Emily mentioned, we're still in development as well. So we can talk about what sort of LiDAR data is available and what types of features users would like to see extracted from that.
And I can add an additional comment to that. Say, for example, one of our previous partners, participants, Jakarta, was working in the LiDAR space, so has provided that data, that raster data, and it would be available to participants, the data. But again, in terms of the extraction and so forth, that would be either additional scope for a copia to consider, or it would be something that as a participant, they would be able to kind of develop and evaluate on their own technology to gather that information or identify those kind of that perception, that semantic.
Thank you. On a related question, just a sidebar from myself here, which I wanted to ask. In Emily's presentation, she was talking about and demonstrating how you can upload your data if you have a layer to add or layers to add to the map. And once you're in a position to do that and the data is uploaded, my question is, who will validate that uploaded data and synchronize it against the existing data on the map, resolve conflicts, determine which is more current or which is correct?
Maybe I can start that one off, Emily, and then you can tag on at the end. So I think right now the process would be that the base layers that Emily's been referring to has been following their quality process, and they've assured kind of quality up to, like, for example, as she quoted, within 25 to 30 centimeters, 95% accuracy. So those are the ones that she's working, the Acopia as a partner is contributing. Other data that's going to be put on by other contributors, at this stage, they would be put on and I guess validated by the community in terms of accuracy. But we're looking at, as a next step, to incorporate a process to validate that technology meeting certain standards. So a contributor, if met certain standards, would be able to then kind of promote that to a higher level of accuracy or a higher level of validation.
Yep, I think there's two ways in which you can contribute. So the vector data, which will be kind of visualized within the map browser itself. And then there's the other way in which you can contribute, which is through an FTP, S3, or API key, which users can then take and then download the data outside of the platform. So we're only going to be visualizing within the map browser itself vector data. And that will be kind of following the standards that Mauro said.
And the 10 centimeter accuracy that's on the current aerial imagery, is that the same accuracy that will carry through when you add in the street view extractions?
Yeah.
Okay. From Richard Dunda, are the connected and autonomous vehicle makers like Gatik using high density mapping to navigate or improve route management and or to gain further CAV level certification?
I guess the project they're using there that they're proposing right now that they're working on is to Gatik specifically is to look at the data that we're providing and kind of integrate it with the data that they're collecting to kind of augment to create a even more rich data set for their application. I'm not sure specifically. I can reach out to Gatik and make some introductions if there's some additional requests that would be that you had of the specific organization on how they're using it.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure Richard, whom I know, will follow up and will facilitate a offline discussion and carrying that forward. Thank you, Mauro. From Subu Chidhambrahan, a little bit of a detailed question here, Emily, and if you want to go back on to the map to demonstrate the answer, I'll just recite the question for the group and then turn it over to you. He's noticed certain map features were grouped, and your demonstration showed it's possible to enable and disable the features as a group. Would it be possible to enable and disable features inside groups as well? For instance, his example to toggle just the traffic lights inside the traffic, quote, group, unquote.
Yeah.
Emily?
Yes, yes, it is possible. I'll just show you quickly. So you can unclick these groups. I've kind of gone ahead. Each individual item within can be turned on or off. So you can take a look and kind of the various groups, turn on the features that are interesting to you to see. So they can all be customized in terms of color and then visualized individually or as the group that you see fit. So you can do the same thing up here.
Whatever subset you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good, thank you. And from Bill Chuang, if a customer wants to see the 3D map, do you have any function for updating it and to see it with going into the future, going forward? Mauro?
And just maybe to clarify a little bit, we're saying a customer wants to see the 3D map. Is it just to see if you wanted to kind of do a demonstration in the context of if you wanted to demonstrate this to a customer, because the intent right now is if you're at a state, or the assumption is you're at a stage where you've developed your technology or a new product, new service that utilizes this platform and the map, and you wanted to demonstrate that to a third party, that would be definitely doable, and you should be able to kind of, however you've incorporated your product or service with the data, either through the platform or by extracting the data and utilizing that data in your product, that's doable to show a customer. Just as a clarification though, if you were to look to sell that, to actually use it for commercial purposes, that's when you would need to reach out to the data contributor. If you're using the base layer data, then reaching out to Acopia. If you're using data supplied by a third party, another contributor, you would reach out to them to the terms and conditions are such that you would have to negotiate an additional agreement with them directly for commercial use of that. I hope that answered your question.
So whatever layers that Bill would be interested to have on the 3D map he wanted to show his customer, which could be some of the existing base information from Acopia, could be something they've uploaded themselves as an enhancement, and it could also be other parties who have uploaded data out of the marketplace. That would all be possible to combine into a map as they see Bill prefers it to be seen. And then I guess the second part of his question, if I'm understanding it, is what process or function do we have at OpenHDMaps to update and get more current information going forward once the base map is integrated with the aerial extractions on top of, or in addition to the street view extractions being added? So updates to the map going forward. Any plans for that at this stage?
Yeah, so I'll address it in two parts. First of all is the expansion outside of the Waterloo region. So there are activities going on right now to identify opportunities to go, say, for example, in the other the other regional technology development sites. So there have been discussions with each of those sites, and we're looking to add to the map for content. So that's additional content in terms of updating the map. And also some projects in play to try and see if there's opportunities to do specific mapping in different areas of, say, for example, the Greater Toronto, the GTA, Greater Toronto area, or even certain subparts within certain projects inside the city of Toronto. With respect to the second part, updating the map in terms of the data is already collected and is it still current? Right now, we're looking even, you're reading our minds, we're looking to put out a call or a challenge for projects to work in that space to look for opportunities and technologies to kind of create a self-healing map or a map that to update, identify where there's discrepancies between what's in the current data versus perhaps there's been some construction in an area and resulting in some changes. So we're putting out a challenge probably in the very near future with respect to looking for projects in that space. So then that technology would then be utilized to kind of keep our map up to date, and would also offer the opportunity to the companies that are responding to that challenge to kind of demonstrate their technology to other map providers.
Very good. And we're just about coming up on time. I'm going to squeeze in one quick question from Carol McClellan before we turn it back over to Vlad. And Keith, I see your question here. I'll follow up with you directly on that. The short answer is yes, and we'll get that out to you, but I'll talk to you following this offline. Carol asks, will there be access to vector data sets in the future to be able to use it on your own analysis software, either via download or data connection? Emily or Andrew?
Yep, I'll take it.
Go ahead.
Yep, so currently, I'm just going to share my screen again. So the base layer data is downloadable. So the vector layers are downloadable right now. So you can take those offline and do your own analysis. And then that'll be the same kind of functionality that'll exist for the various contributions from other organizations. They'll all have the ability to be downloaded out and leveraged outside of the platform as well. So individual analysis can take place. Every organization is going to have different requirements and needs. So that is absolutely a function within the platform.
And just while you're on this page, Emily, before you go, as things get added, there will be additional cards like the Waterloo Region map base card, if you will, for each of the other contributors, right? So the marketplace will become populated as it becomes utilized with today's launch.
Yeah, absolutely. So my content will be the content that you have access to, both private and shared. And then the marketplace will be everyone's content. So it'll be various cards. And as those build out, we'll build out a sort function. So you can sort between data types. We have to figure out what exactly that looks like based on the data that we get added into the platform. But there will be the ability to sort.
Excellent. Thank you. And thanks to everyone for the diverse and broad range of questions. I'll turn it over to Vlad to close things off.
Okay, thank you. Emily, Mauro, and Andrew, thank you once more for offering your time and effort to present today and for giving us a glimpse of the OpenHDMap's ecosystem with HD3D map data. Russ, thank you very much for moderating our Q&A segment. Thank you all for joining us for another Communitech Data Hub session. We hope you enjoyed it. Please take 2 minutes to give us feedback on the session so that we can make the next one even better. The link to the survey is available right here in the chat. Once you finish the survey, you'll receive a link to a copy of the presentation slides. If you're interested in viewing the recording of this session, it will be posted on our YouTube channel over the next few weeks. Don't forget to subscribe to the Communitech YouTube channel. Thank you again for taking the time to join us today. Stay safe and healthy.